Good afternoon, folks. My name is Jimmy Bashar with the ISO Stakeholder Affairs Group. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the latest Reliability Requirements Customer Partnership Group call. I am joined today by my colleagues, Abdul Muhammad Ali from our Operations Engineering Group, Melanie Bogan from our Operations Planning Group, Lauren Carr and Bridget Sparks from our Market Infrastructure and Policy Group, and David Zlotlo from our Legal Group. As most of you know, we have created these CPG series in response to our participants' request to have more involvement in our planning, design, and usability validation phases of our application development process. In turn, we try our best to make these as open and interactive as we can for you, so we definitely encourage and appreciate in advance your active participation. Our agenda for today, as you can see, to discuss our RA credits. As far as CR enhancements go, we're going to discuss that next, followed by RA enhancements for summer 2021, and then a few reminders on our CSB, our competitive solicitation process, power contract bulletin board update, and a reminder on our CPM contact information. In addition, our calls and webinars are recorded for stakeholder convenience, allowing those who are unable to attend to listen to the recordings after the meetings. The recordings will be publicly available on the ISO webpage for a limited time following the meetings. And of course, the recordings and any related transcriptions should not be reprinted without the ISO's permission. And lastly, of course, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand virtually by pressing #2. And we, of course, please request that you state your name and the company that you represent. And also, if we see any chat questions come in as well, we'll be sure to field those prior to opening up the line for verbal questions. And with that, I'll hand it over to Abdul.
Thanks, Jimmy. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go through the first agenda item, please. Next slide, kindly. Okay, so the RA credits, so the main point here we want to talk about are the changes to the crediting process in after the appeals committee's decision regarding PRR 1280. So we had a PRR last year to make some changes to the crediting process, and that, that discussion, there was a lot of discussions regarding it. The appeal committee made a decision to put it in abeyance or on hold. And in the meantime, we have a specific orders from the appeals committee to make some changes to the implementation or to accommodate this order. We made some changes to the implementation process. So to start with, as usual, LSCs should not have any of their credits on their RA plan. This is something we've been doing for a few years now. All the credits need to come from the LRAs directly. The only exception is under construction credits or under construction resources. Those are shown on the other tab of the RA plan only during the annual showings. So everything I said has been the status quo for a couple of years now. What the first change is, the credits used to come from the LRAs in a specific template, and they used to upload it directly into Sierra. Right now, what we're doing is we're requesting all the LRAs to submit those credits in those proper templates via City. So we're going to need those credits in City so we can manage the upload, the timing of the uploads of those credits. And as we discussed in the, the implementation meeting we had post the appeals committee's decision, those credits will be uploaded in two phases. Phase 1, we will upload the credits, the CAISO credits, which are RMR and CPM credits, if any. Those will get in as usual by T-45. So when the first validation runs at T-44, you will see all the SCs will see their validation results with the RMR and CPM credits already accounted for. Now, for the LRH credits, and we were talking about specifically, there are three types of LRA credits: DR, CAM, and LD. Those we're going to upload after T-42 or between T-42 and T-35. We target uploading it as soon as possible, so we really upload at T-42, 41, at the latest 40. So when you see, when we upload those credits, you'll see all the credits that you potentially can have, all of them in the CIRA database. Just a note here, LRAs are still, we still need them to send us the credits by T-45 as usual. Send it to us via city so we can have them there, get them ready, so at T-42 or soon after we can upload them into CIRA. This process and more details are posted in the frequently asked questions document that we posted as after the appeals committee's decision. So you can see that, and I put that link there. So that's how the crediting process is going on. You can see those credits. I think we started in March and in April, and it's going forward until the appeals committee makes a different, give us a different direction. I think the April ones, you can see them already in CIRA. So if you look at your April validation, you'll see all the credits, CAISO and LRA credits already in CIRA. And after each topic, I'm going to pause for questions. So this is done for RA credits. So if anyone has any questions, this is a good time to do it.
Alrighty, as we move over to Q&A, once again, you can enter the question queue by pressing #2 on your telephone keypad. You'll hear a notification when your line is unmuted. At that time, please state your name and question. Once again, pressing #2 will place you into the queue. To submit a written question, please select all panelists from the drop-down menu in the chat panel, enter your question in the message box provided, and send. Once again, please ensure you've selected all panelists before sending your question. I currently see no hands raised in the queue at this time, nor do I see any questions in the chat.
All right, let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so a few CIRA enhancements coming up really soon. So we are planning to deploy these enhancements early March. I'll give you guys the date at the end of this discussion. But there's few enhancements, and we thought they were very important and relevant to participants, so we're including them in the CPG. The first one is the LSC IDs that we have today in CIRA. They will be sourced from master file. So what does that mean to the participants or to you? If you're one of the participants that have an old LSC ID in CIRA that you use for your RA plans, for your showings of RA plan on supply plan, for trades, for obligation, your LSC ID in CIRA, it might not match master file, especially if it's an older LSC ID. And the reason is CIRA did not source, LSC IDs from master file, and you have to create them separately. So when master file a few years back, they changed their LSC ID format, we actually needed a project to do the same thing for CIRA, and we finally got it done. So going forward, and when I say going forward, we're targeting May showings day, May RA plan, RA month of May. This is where it will take effect. The LSC IDs that you have in master file, that's what you need to use for your RA showings or any RA related item in CIRA. Whenever you need to use an LSC ID, please use the master file LSC ID that you already have in master file. And then for the existing data, we're going to change it. So maybe I should have said the dates already. So the dates that we're targeting this week, so we're targeting February 24. So in 2 days, we're planning to deploy these changes into map stage. So you can go into map stage and start doing your testing. We're going to give you a week, since there's only a few changes, a week of testing, and then we're targeting deployment into production on March 4. So what that means is on March 4, the showings cure period for April would have already passed, so you can't make any changes to April. On March 4, when we go live, the historic info for your LSC ID, if it doesn't match, or the existing info in Sierra database, if your LSC ID does not match master file, we're going to change it for you. So when we go live on 3.4, your new LSC ID is going to be already in the database in Sierra. Your information will transfer. So you don't need to make any changes. But because we're deploying on 3.4, that is before the May showings. So the May showings are due March 17. So we're giving you about 2 weeks. Check your RA plan and supply plan for May 2021. Make sure you change the LSC ID to match master file LSC ID, and then upload them using this new LSC ID. If you forget and you try to upload with the old LSC ID, you're going to get an error. And you can change it. It's a quick change in your supply plan or RA plan. But we're just giving you a heads up. We're trying to deploy as soon as possible, so you have plenty of time before the showings are due on March 17th to actually fix your plans and upload them. So that's a big heads up. We did some training, and we helped with the access through our client rep department. So most people should have already been informed about this, and they probably already made the change into their access, and they're ready to go. Just make sure you update your supply plan, RA plan for May 2021 and going forward. So that's for the LSC IDs. We're also planning to post the NQC list and the CPM designations to OASIS. So today those are only posted. You can only see them in Sierra or on the CAISO.com webpage, and the postings on the webpage are done manually by the CAISO team. Again, when we deploy these enhancements, we're going to start posting this info, the NQC list and the CPM designations. We're going to start posting them into OASIS, and they're going to go automatically. The NQC list is going to continue to be posted once a month. We'll post more often if needed, but currently we post it once a month. You'll continue to see it real time, the data, the changes in Sierra. And for the CPM designations, we'll post, following the TRF timelines. The posting will follow the same timelines. So these are the two pieces of info. For the next enhancement, for SCs that have acquired contracts, that have resources under acquired contract, those SCs will be able to see the info for their contract. So if I'm an SC1, I'll see my resources that are under acquired contract, the info, start date, end date. The info that we have in our database, we're going to display to you only your contract, and it's going to be on the Sierra UI under the Contracts tab. So this will help in the annual contracts renewal process. This way you can see what you have in your systems and what we have, and make sure they align, and things will be easier for specifically the annual process, and in general anytime you want to check your acquired contracts and what their status and expiration date and all that. The next enhancement is under the substitution screen. A lot of SCs before, they have asked for an enhancement to get the SCID to the SC contact info of the third-party substitution displayed in Sierra. So if you're going in to provide a substitution, you're an SC, you go into Sierra and you try to provide a substitution there, and you pick someone else's resource. You want to substitute with a third-party resource. Sometimes it's a challenge to find that, the contact info of the SC, to contact them and let them know that you have used their resource, and so they have to come to Sierra and approve it. The third-party SC have to go to CIRA and approve that substitution. To make things easier, and per the request of the customers, we put that now. It's being displayed in that screen. So nothing changed. We already had the contact info. It was just blank, and it had to be manually, edited by the SC. What we did now is we automatically started, filling that info, and we're using the supply plan data. So whoever submits the supply plan for that resource, that third-party resource, we're going to extract that info from the supply plan, and we'll put it displayed for you on the substitution screen so you can contact the person and get the approval process faster. All of these enhancements, we did a thorough training last week on the 18th. We have all the, all the slides with examples, a lot of details, and it's all recorded. The entire training is recorded under the link that I have provided there under the Learning Center. So feel free to access it and take a look. If you didn't, actually, I highly encourage it. It was very informative. I think we're done with this topic. So if anyone has any questions, operators who have any questions, let's get those, please.
We do have 2 hands raised in the queue at this time, as well as 2 questions in the chat. Would you like me to start with the verbal questions first?
Yes, please.
We can go ahead with the, actually, yeah, sorry, Abdul, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, let's go with the verbal and then we can go. Yeah.
All right, I'll go ahead with the first caller. Caller, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hi, Abdul. This is Noah from SDG. I actually had a question on Learning Chapter. I also had another question come up in the meantime. So would the ISO be able to provide a list of the LLC IDs public so that we know which LLC IDs may have changed for our supply plans so that we can, sort of validate instead of having to call every single LLC?
Yes, that's a very good point. I know we're gonna post that list of the LLCs that are changing, the old ones and the new ones, and we'll post it on. Hopefully, we'll post it on the reliability requirements page on Kaiser.com, and then we'll notify you guys. Maybe send a Bronto message, or I'll work with client reps to get you a notification on the location of that spreadsheet.
That'd be great. Thanks so much. And then going back to the PR 1280, can you talk a bit about sort of the timing? So essentially, LLCs should not put the credits onto their RA plans, which means that if they're going into they're submitting their showings, the ISO system would show a deficiency. The LLCs would be able to ignore that deficiency by sort of calculating their credits that they would be getting, and then sort of wait for the ISO to load the credits at some later point to then check back to see that it's compliant. Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're waiting a couple of days to upload the LRA credits so we can do our LRA notification, deficiency notification. So our tariff, we have to notify the LRAs of any deficient LSCs, and we have to do it based on the RA capacity shown on the supply plans and the RA plans. So that's why we're waiting a few days. So we send the notification. These notifications are automated from CIRA. So CIRA is going to do it based on the total or the final, deficiency for each LSC. So we're sending the notifications before the credits go in, and then so that's why we wait a couple of days, and then we upload the credits in. So you see your final, you can see your initially before the credits how you're doing, and what we're notifying the LRA about, and then after the credits go in, the credits that the LRA give us, we put it in, and you can see how you're doing after that, and if you're still deficient. So these are the 2 steps where you're encouraged to take a look and see how how you're doing from a showings point of view, and then obviously you can cure as usual till T-30.
Right. So will the ISO be sending a secondary or a initial notification to the LRA and then a final notification to the LRA once the credits are submitted or loaded?
No, we send only one notification, the initial one without the credits, and then that's it. I mean, obviously the LRAs can log in anytime to Sierra and see what's happening. We don't send the details on the notification. The notification is basically a generic email saying, one of your LSCs did not meet their obligation. Please log into Sierra, take a look, and that's where they see it in Sierra. So, the email is generic enough. We don't need to send it multiple times. One, and two, we do need to send it based on the shown RA capacity without the LRA credits, as I mentioned. So we, sending a second time after the credits is not the right way. It's not what the tariff says. So send it once, and we send it before the credits.
Okay, so the LRAs will only receive some notification of a deficiency for the LCs because the ISO hasn't loaded the LRA's information from city that was submitted. But then once the ISO loads the information, the ISO will not be sending out any additional sort of revisions to that. And sort of on the record, they will just be, to the LRA, they will just be deficient, even though they might be sufficient or in compliance within the ISO systems.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the incompliance of the CAISO systems, but yeah, the notification sent once, and it's sent before the credits are uploaded.
Okay, and do you expect to make any other types of changes in Sierra so that these can be loaded quicker?
Well, we're waiting for before we make more Sierra changes. We're waiting for the updates on the appeals committee. They're planning to follow up in August. If you see their decision, there is a follow-up discussion that will happen after August of this year. And we're planning to wait and see what's going to happen, what's the outcome of that discussion. We're currently working with the LRAs to try to resolve this crediting process and come into an agreement on what we can do moving forward. So until we get a better understanding of what's happening and what's going to happen, unfortunately, we're going to have to do this process manually.
Yeah, thanks. Was there information on sort of the ISO's method of implementing the abeyance of the BTM language? It was, I think the appeals committee talked about some type of agreement in a sense, and the agreement it was that the LRAs will upload into the city, and the ISO will not load it until after T42, or as late as T35. Was that the agreement?
Yes. Yeah. So in the previous slide on the PRR on the crediting slide, I put a link at the bottom that has the implementation details. And if you click on it, you're going to see all these, what I said, and even more details on how we're implementing the appeals committee's decision.
Right, but I don't think so. What the document says is how the ISO is implementing the decision, but doesn't specifically talk about the agreement that was stated in the appeals decision itself. And I'm just trying to make sure that what I'm reading is the agreement and not like an ISO's own version of the interpretation of the agreement.
Right. Yeah. The agreement is posted also on the website. I'm not sure exactly where it's posted. I don't know if anyone else from the client rep team here can help me out, but it is posted, the agreement or the decision. The appeals committee decision is posted on the CAISO.com, and you can find it there, but I don't know exactly what the link is for it. I think we sent the market notice that has the decision in it.
Yeah, okay. I guess maybe I'm missing the agreement itself, but I'll keep looking for me. If you guys can find it and can provide that and update the slide deck, that'd be great. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Are we ready to move on to our next caller?
Yes, please.
Caller, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Chen Yulong from PG&E. I do have a couple questions. So if Ra Enhancement, can you hear me? Yeah, if Ra Enhancement were to go live March 4th, so when do you anticipate NQC and CPM designation will appear on Oasis?
So the CPM will appear only if we have a CPM. So the CPM designations, we post them only following an actual CPM. So whenever that happens, whenever the next CPM happens, you're going to start seeing that data going into Oasis. The NQC list, we post it once a month. And so what we're going to do is we're going to follow that timeline. We're going to post the post NQC list after that deployment date. I don't remember I think we set the date. So we have to post by the 15th. So I think we set the date a few days before the 15th of each month. So you'll see it in Oasis. So I would say 2 weeks after the deployment, you're going to see the actual NQC. At the latest, you're going to see it on Oasis.
So it's like March 18 or so, we shall see an NQC report in Oasis?
March, well, again, I have to check the date that we put in the configurable. I don't know for those if you know the default date we put, but it's probably, let's see, so the 15th is the date, I think the 14th. So we're posting the day before.
Okay.
So the 14th of each month, you'll see the NQC list on Oasis.
Good to know. Also, I'm not sure you have this information because we've been kind of waiting for to see the NQC and CPM report in Oasis. This is for the map stage for testing. So is there going to be an NQC report and CPM report in Oasis that has data for available for testing since the testing window is really short?
I believe so. For those, are you on the call? Do you have more info on the exact testing process?
Yes. Hi, Abdul. Yes, I think, as the map stage Oasis reports are currently visible, and as Abdul mentioned earlier, that Sierra changes, we are planning to deploy in map stage on 24th. So once this is deployed, then whatever we publish, that will be available in Oasis. So if you are looking for any specific month or date, you can request and we can publish the data specifically for those. Otherwise, we can just simply publish the monthly data for this month.
So the monthly data for this month, which is February, right? So it's important for us to get the data. I mean, sometimes when you just download without any data, I think it's pretty hard for the developers to able to validate certain things. So when there is data, it will help. So we will really appreciate it if you can publish the trade date, what trade day or what trade month the data will be available after the 24th. So we can try to meet the short deadline for the testing.
So, I think the ideal way would be once you deploy the code in the map stage, you can upload your NQC data in Sierra. Once the data is uploaded, then we can publish those data, and you can see directly those in the Oasis report. So that will be a true test. But I was referring earlier that once we deploy the code, we can just publish all NQC data what we have in our system. We can just publish everything for the upcoming month, and you can see them like as a generic data set. So whatever way you prefer, and we can accommodate your request.
Okay. All right. So we'll discuss with the team. Thank you. That you being very flexible to accommodate whether we submit or if we're unable to submit, you're going to just see the data and get it from the production.
That's correct.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And for those, maybe if you can take a note of Noah's request, he's asking that we for the map stage testing, if we can post the CPM data for August 2020, if we can post that into Oasis for testing. Actually, I think for CPM data, we're creating those test cases in map stage. They're not actual historic CPMs. For those, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, you are correct.
Okay.
So for CPM, we just have to recreate some test CPM so that they can see this data.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Next question, operator, please.
At this time, there are no further questions on the phone line.
All right. Thank you. And I think we answered the questions on the chat. Also,
we did.
So
I do see two additional questions, though, from Noah from SDG&E. I can verbalize them for you, Noah, unless you want to chime back in again.
Yeah, Jimmy, I just answered that. I talked to Firdaus about them right now. And,
okay, yeah, there you go.
And we're gonna create CPMs in map stage in Sierra map stage, and they're gonna go to map stage Oasis. Okay.
All right, then there are no more questions that I see. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Okay, whoever has the slide deck, you can take us to the next one, please. All right, thank you. So the next topic is the RA enhancements. So those who are following the RA enhancements policy initiative, there are many changes we're doing to the RA process. But I think for the purpose of this CPG and for the purpose of prioritizing, we wanted to discuss some implementation details that we have so far. I think some participants asked for this, Noah is one of them, that, when it's available, when possible, if we can discuss implementation plans ahead of time when we're still in the BRS stage so we can get feedback from the participants and give them heads up. So that's exactly what we're doing here. And, especially that this one is coming soon. So for one of the enhancements that's coming for June 1st is changes to the planned outage substitution process. There's a few other changes that are coming this year in phase one, operationalizing storage and I think a change to the CPM process for a year ahead. But for the purpose of this CPG, we are focusing on the planned outage substitution because that's the impact to Sierra, and it's coming on June 1st. So Sierra means it's relevant to this specific CPG. So we're going to talk about that. So for this, pending, very important disclaimer, pending the policy and the tariff getting approved. So they're still I think the policy is in the draft. It's in the draft final proposal. And if everything gets approved and goes according to plan, we're planning to go live on June 1st. And the main change we're doing here with planned outage substitution is we're requiring that all planned outages will need to provide RA substitution. So all planned outages that have RA capacity, on resources that have RA capacity, and if that RA capacity is getting derated, then that derated or impacted amount of RA will need to provide substitution. We're only putting two exemptions, and one of them is the transmission-induced outages, and the other one is the off-peak opportunity outages. So these will continue to be exempt from this process, but all other planned outages will have to provide substitution. So there is no more ambiguity. I have to wait till, when we start running the postal process today, which is T-minus 25 or 24. So you're waiting until the RA showings come in, and you're like, okay, is my outage going to require substitution or not? This change is going to say, yes, if you have a planned outage and you have RA capacity and it's going to impact it, then you have to get the substitution ready. And then, so what we're going to do, and that's what I said is all in the policy initiative. Now we're going to get into the details of how we're going to implement it. So the policy requests that you submit the substitution for outages that are submitted before the showings are in. So before T-minus 45, you need to submit the substitutions when the showings come in. So what we're doing in Sierra, we're giving you a 24-hour window. So we're going to start running the validation, the planned outage validation every day, once a day, every day. Most likely we're going to set it to 8 a.m. Pacific. If anyone has, if you guys have preferred a different date, let us know. But we're, as of now, we're going to default it to 8 a.m. We can change it later, but that's the beginning, the starting time. 8 a.m. Every day. We're starting T-minus 44. We're going to start running the planned outage substitution, validation. And so at T-minus 44, we're going to pick up all the outages that were submitted up to that point. Let's say if we set it at 8 a.m., 8 a.m. at T-minus 44, we pick up all outages, and then everything that is impacting RA capacity will have a substitution requirement. You have 24 hours to provide a substitution, so you have until the next day before 8 a.m. to provide substitution for those outages. And then if you don't, then we're going to deny all these outages. Automatic denials will happen of all these planned outages that do not provide full RA substitution. And so that's everything that's shown before T-minus 45. So long-range outages and some of the mid-range outages they're going to get, or the mid-range outages, I think they're due by T-minus 45, so they're going to follow that timeline. Any of the planned outages submitted after that, they're going to go the same way. You have 24 hours, but after the submission of the outage, after the first time the validation runs after the submission of the outage. So let's say you submitted the outage at noon today, the 22nd. The next validation, if we set the timer at 8 a.m., we're not going to run the validation until 8 a.m. the next day. So at 8 a.m. the next day, after we run the analysis, you're going to see this substitution obligation. And you have 24 hours from then, from the time we show it to you on Sierra, to substitute for it. And this is simply, there's two reasons. One, to give you some time, 24 hours is reasonable time, knowing that you already know, even before submitting the outage, you already know what you're going to show as RA, and you already know that, how much the D rate is. These are planned outages. So as soon as you plan the outage, you know that there's substitution that you're going to have to submit for them. So these outages, so that will give you, again, we're trying to address that uncertainty here. Yes, there's some other issues with the planned outage process that needs to be addressed, and we're trying to do it in phase 2. But for phase 1, for this summer, to kind of help us with the readiness for the summer, we're doing this. So the 24-hour window closes. After the 24-hour window, again, if you don't provide substitution, the outage will be automatically denied. Let's see, anything else I want to say about this? The exemptions apply, and I think that's basically it. If anyone has any questions, I see Noah says, when does the customer run validation during the day? So we're going to run it once a day for now. Most likely the time we're going to pick is 8 a.m. in the morning. So once a day, it keeps it simple. You submit your outage whenever you want, but we're going to show you the substitution. It's going to show up at 8 a.m., and you have 24 hours after that to submit the substitution. That's that. So anyone that has any questions about how we're implementing this policy? operator.
At this time, we do have a hand raised in the queue. I'll go ahead and put them through now. Caller, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hey, Bill, it's Noah from San Diego again. Thanks for giving the sort of the 8 a.m. Sort of time window, I guess. You might want to. I don't know if it's better to go a little bit earlier, just in case if there are SCs on the East Coast, just gives them a little bit more time to sort of prepare. But I just mainly wanted to provide feedback on this 24-hour window. I don't know if most people at the ISO understand how difficult it is to bilaterally contract for RA capacity. It's unlike the ISO's energy markets or other types of services that make these things a lot quicker. But effectively, the bilateral capacity market does not afford sort of efficiency and ease for to procure capacity. So I would first try to ask, what is how did you guys get to the decision point of 24 hours versus today? These days are, I think, anytime until 9 days prior, or 9 days prior to the start of the outage or something like that, right?
So no, I mean the fair point for the the challenge of getting the contract. I think one, the policy says that the substitution has to be provided immediately. Whether if it's before T-45, it has to be submitted immediately with the showings, and if it's after T-45, if the outage is submitted after T-45, it has to be submitted immediately with the outage. So I think we put the 24-hour window just to kind of accommodate the clicking, submit, how validation would happen. It makes more sense if we do it this way. But really, from a policy point of view, the plan is you already know as soon as you decide I want to submit a planned outage on a resource that have RA capacity, that I have to submit substitution with it. So in the past, it used to be you have to wait. You don't know if the system is going to be deficient and if we're going to give you substitution obligation or not. And you have to wait, and then we give you the allocation, and then you start contracting. Today we're saying do the contracting as soon as you make the decision that you want to submit the outage. So that should give you one certainty and maybe give you more time if you're submitting the outage, in advance. And we're always, whether it's an outage coordination or RA process, we're always encouraging people to submit outages ahead of time. So that's one thing. The other thing for the outage window is the requesting that you're requiring that the short timeline from policy process and people comments. There was a lot of I submitted the outage, it's sitting there for days, and I don't know what's going to happen to the outage. Is it going to go through? You come in CAISO and you deny my outage 7 days before it starts. That's not fair. There's not enough time. So what we're saying here is to make your life easier and in our life easier, where there is no more, I'm submitting the outage and I have to wait to see what's going to happen. As soon as the RA showings come in, we're going to let you know. Either it's going to be you're going to submit substitution, we're going to leave it approved, or we're going to deny it right away. If you submit the outage later, after the showings come in, the same thing. The outage goes in Sierra within 24 hours. You're going to know if it's going to stay or if it's going to get denied. So it complies or fulfills the many comments and complaints that we got from participants in the policy initiative about how we're doing it today. And obviously, it makes it, easier and more efficient for our engineers who are running the analysis. If we wait more than 24 hours or if we sit on it for a few days, they're going to have to pick the outage and going to have to start studying it. And then after that, we go back and we deny it because of lack of substitution, because, we lost some RA capacity. Then we waste the client's time, we waste our time. So it's really, these are some of these inefficiencies that everyone is suffering from today. We're trying to cut those by putting these timelines. And again, the key thing is, the 24 hours is actually more than what, or it's a little bit stretching what the policy is, which is, immediate, providing substitution immediately. So I hope that.
Yeah,
explains.
No, I mean, not really. Mainly because, I would say that the word immediate requirement was just placed into the policy. I think whenever the ISO published its revised final draft red line, and it was not in the original policy in phase one of Ra Enhancement. So I don't think it's fair to say that the policy language includes that, therefore the ISO is implementing it this way. And so, but I understand what you're trying to get to, and I guess that I'm glad that you're not asking for it sort of beforehand, before the outage occurs, right? But the problem I have, again, is procuring this capacity, when we find out there is an outage that will be happening in, let's say, 10 days from now, right, which would be considered a planned outage at this point, I may not have sufficient capacity sort of in my reserve, or be able to contact someone and procure that capacity in the next 24 hours, right? So because really what happens is if I don't submit the outage, the substitution, for the planned outage that I submitted, then if I'm given maybe 48 hours, a week, I might be able to get that capacity procured. But now there's no difference if I don't get it procured within 7 days or versus 1 day. You're still going to deny my outage. The ability to give me 7 days, something like 7 days, affords me more time to actually not have this outage denied. And then what do I do? Do I resubmit the outage as a planned outage the next day? And because I have the capacity now, I mean, how do you want that to happen?
So Noah, since we're talking about planned outage, I want you to plan it as in advance as possible. When you say I found out about it, a week before or something, I mean, this is planned outage. You're planning. You're not finding out. You're planning. I need to do maintenance. I need to replace something. I need to do some work. That's something I plan in advance. And if you think you don't have RA capacity, then I would say plan ahead. If you need a week, then make sure you put that into your planning process. That okay, I need this item to do maintenance, instead of planning the maintenance in 2 weeks, and that doesn't give you enough time for providing substitution or finding substitution. Plan do it next month or in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Find the substitution. Okay, now I have substitution. I have a good plan strategy. Let's submit both of them and give them to KAISO so we're covered in both ways. Does that make sense?
So, no, it doesn't, because what you're telling me is that you want me to, if I know my plan is is going to sort of break, right? We see a problem coming, but we can't get the part until 10 days from now. Then what we would do is, per the ISO tariff, we know that we need an outage 10 days from now. Per the ISO tariff, I have to submit that. And now, but I may not be able to buy the capacity, the substitute capacity, tomorrow or today. And I should be able to sort of work on that in a sense, right? And if you deny my outage, then I have to. So you want me to just essentially run the plant down, not do good utility practice, maintain the plant, and just let it break and go into a forced outage? Is that what you were asking for?
Definitely not.
Noah?
Definitely not.
Noah?
Yeah, go ahead,
David, let me just chime in here for a minute. So I think this presentation right here, this 24-hour rule is it's the implementation detail of the proposed policy change. So I just want to make sure that part's clear, that Abdul is presenting the implementation of a pending policy change. So, I mean, I understand you're raising concerns about the policy, which is, fair enough, but I think, there's some policy team members on the phone now too, so they're hearing what you're saying, but I just wanted to just make clear this call right now is about implementing the policy, and your concerns are about the policy, which are, fair points to raise. But, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that part was clear. No one was confused there.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you guys aren't confused about this because, we're having the CPG call, the first CPG call in a while, before the ISO's call tomorrow, right, for our enhancements phase 1. So, I guess if you want me to, if we want to sort of debate the word immediate tomorrow, okay, but if the CPGs have an open and honest dialogue about what we're implementing, how we're going to implement it, and why implementation matters for policy, I highly recommend that the ISO reconsider the words immediate and how we're going to implement it in 24 hours. Thank you.
Sure. No, I understand. I'm pointing out the immediate is the policy, and then this is the 24 hours is to say, well, we don't mean literally immediately. We mean, right away, giving you 24 hours to sort of figure it out. But, yeah, I think at least I understand the critique you're offering of the policy. I don't know if, anyway, that can be brought up more now or more tomorrow. But anyway, I understand the point you're making.
Yeah. Thanks, David and Noah. And I think that's the key thing. We can discuss policy more tomorrow, and if changes are needed. But today it's probably best that we focus on how we're going to implement it. Assuming that's why at the beginning I said assuming it gets approved as is. Yeah, if anyone from the policy team has anything to add, please go ahead. Otherwise, we can move to the next caller.
No, Abdul, this is Lauren. I just wanted to mention, I think we understand your concern, Noah, and we can discuss it more tomorrow on our stakeholder call. Thanks.
Thank you. Operator, we have another question going on, or are we good to go?
We have no further questions on the phone line at this time.
All right, thank you. Okay. So now that we're done with the controversial stuff, the few reminders, upcoming, coming months, the summer months are coming, the peak months, and even off-peak months, this is a good time to remind everyone of the, some of the processes. So one, the CSP process, so the competitive solicitation process, which is basically your process of bidding into the CPM, submitting bids for CAISO to use in case a CPM is needed. These are the CSP offers or bids. Just a quick, we have annual, monthly, and intra-monthly. The annual, submissions are for the annual CPM needs. The monthly submissions are for the monthly CPM needs, so month-ahead deficiencies. And then the intra-monthly are for, if we need to do an exceptional dispatch CPM or significant event CPM, we use those bids for those types of CPM designations. So if you have extra capacity, non-RA capacity, it's not committed, and you would like to offer it to the CAISO, submit, competitive bids for it, you can do that in CIRA. For monthly submissions, they're due 40 days ahead of the month, and you have an adjustment period, and then for the intra-monthly, it's 14 days prior to the month, and again, you have adjustment periods, or you can make changes or cancellation to those submissions. I listed the detail where you can see the details on the BPM or the actual due dates. They're also posted on the CAISO.com. I got the link there. But that's the key thing about these offers. If you have extra capacity, non-RA capacity that you would like to offer the CAISO for CPM, then this is the platform to do it. One thing to keep in mind: if you bid competitively, then the CAISO picks the more economic bids first. And then the other thing to keep in mind, if you bid then and we designate a CPM to your resource, then you have to accept it. So when you bid, you're telling us, I have this capacity and I'm willing to accept it if you designate me. So these are two, kind of things to note. Any quick questions before I go to the next one? Or maybe I'll go through the reminders, and then if you have any questions on any of three of them, let me know. So operator, if we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay. So another reminder that, we have a power contracts bulletin board. This platform is available for anyone who would like to post that they have excess capacity they want to provide, or if someone is looking for capacity. So I think, as Noah mentioned, it's getting harder and harder to find RA capacity and do the contracting. So if you are looking for RA capacity, you can post something and say, hey, I'm looking for capacity. This is my contact info. Or if you're selling RA capacity, whether it's for substitution, so it's available for a few days, or if it's RA capacity that's available to be shown in the month ahead process or the year ahead process, you can post those and people can see them. And just make sure you put your contact info in there. These are not, postings are not validated or not monitored by the CAISO. These are available for anyone with CR access. And then obviously there's rules that you have to follow. We have them on the website. So feel free to go ahead and use those, especially in the coming months as needed. And then obviously, this is the platform only for, people to communicate and get contact info and do contracting, but submitting actual substitutions still have to happen in Sierra. So always remember, you got to go in Sierra and you got to submit the substitution there. Next slide, please. All right. The last one is the Ccm Contact Info. So we noticed, especially last heat wave where we did few CPMs, that some people don't update or didn't update their contact info. It is very important that you have your contact info for a CPM correct and up to date. The reason is when we do a CPM, especially an ED CPM, an exceptional dispatch CPM, you have 24 hours to decline the CPM if you don't want to accept it. So if you don't submit a bid in the CS2 process and we see that you have non-RA capacity, then we need the units, we can CPM that capacity. Since you didn't submit bids, you have 24 hours to deny it in SIRA. If you don't deny it, then it's automatically accepted, and we consider as CPM capacity and subject to must-offer obligation, substitution rules, and rate. So it's very important that when we send a notification of a CPM, it goes to the right person. So, please, make sure you have the right contact info. If you need to update your contact info or find out what we have in the database as a contact info for your scheduling coordinator, you can submit a city ticket. So city ticket for updating contact info or finding out what we got in this database. And you're highly encouraged to use a distribution email or a group email. So if people leave the organization or changes individuals or assignments, then that email can continue to be used and it goes to the right people. So you can make that change on your side versus making it on our side. It's probably easier. So that is that one. And with this, I think the next slide is the questions. Okay. So if anyone has any questions about the reminders or anything we said in the CPG, this is a good time. So operator, do we have anyone in the queue?
We do have one caller in the queue at this time. Would you like me to put them through?
Yes, please.
Caller, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hey, it's Noah again from San Diego. Just to follow up on the planned outage. If someone puts in a planned outage ticket but is unable to provide a substitution within 24 hours and the outage gets denied, will the SC be able to put in a subsequent planned outage if there's sufficient time when they have the the substitution capacity procured?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, and that would still be in compliance with the ISO tariff, such that even though we may not have substitution capacity up front, we are still abiding by the ISO tariff to put in all outages as we know them and continue to work on it even if it's denied.
Yeah. So if you submitted a planned outage, let me reiterate your scenario. You submitted a planned outage. Within 24 hours, you couldn't substitute, so we denied it. And then, after a day or two, you were able to secure substitute capacity, and you still need to do, or you still want to plan that outage. You can resubmit the planned outage again, and as long as it's within the planned time frame, and provide substitution, everything will go according to the proper process. There's no issues there.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out whether or not we would be required to submit out, the same outage every day, even though it continues to get denied as we continue to work on, the substitute capacity as sort of to be in compliance with the other ISO tariff of submitting outages as when we know about them.
Oh, you're saying you got denied today, tomorrow you submit again even though you don't have substitution to get in compliance with the ISO tariff about submitting the outage as soon as you learn about them.
Correct.
Okay. That's a good point. Maybe that's something we can, again, discuss tomorrow. And I think one thing that comes to mind is, again, when we're talking about a planned outage, this is something you're planning. It's not something you're learning about. So I think that's a key difference between a forced outage and a planned outage, or one of the key differences. Forced outage is you learned, okay, well, the smoke coming out of my units or one of the, parts of it, and I need to replace it. It looks like it's going to break. I learned about it, so I submit the outage right away and I fix it right away. Versus a planned outage that, okay, I have, my routine, a maintenance, and I need to do this maintenance every year, whatever, maybe once a year or whatever. And hey, it's coming up. This is your usual date. You're planning it, so it's not something I'm so surprised I have to do it. No, it's something you got to plan. That's why it's called a planned outage. And the tariff actually calls them maintenance outages. So you're planning it, and in the planning process, I think it's fair to expect that you're also looking for substitute capacity. So you're looking for crews. You want to get your crews ready, the time ready, whether, a good time reliability-wise, or, coordinating with CAISO outage coordination, and you're trying to find the right time and doing maybe your studies. And at the same time, you're also looking, as part of the planning process, you're looking for substitute capacity. So I think at least that's what I would envision it to be from my experience in operations planning and outage coordination. So when you have it ready, then there you go. I can go ahead. I'm gonna set the date. I have substitution. I have the crews. CAISO, here's the outage. So I think, again, I don't want to interpret the tariff. That's David's job. But
let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Here, it sounds from some of the things you were saying before. Maybe it sounded like your concern would be. Tell me if this is right. Something where it's an imminent need for the maintenance. So it's a planned outage because it's still in the planned outage time frame, but it's something where you're looking and you're saying, this is going to break. It's going to break within the next, 2 weeks, so we need to take the outage now. But it's still under the existing time frame. It's still a planned outage because you know about it, 2 weeks ahead of time. So it's not forced, but it's not maintenance that you're just planning on the regular cycle. Is that the sort of outage that's causing the most concern?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
It's because of the timing,
I don't have an answer to that, but I don't have an answer to that right now, but I understand the point where there's something in between a, maintenance outage that's planned far in advance, on a regular cycle, and then forced outages where it just breaks weather happens. There is something in between, and I guess I understand the point you're making, that there's something that fits the maintenance outage definition, but it's closer towards what people think of as a forced outage rather than something that's a part of a planned maintenance cycle. So, I mean, that's something we'll have to sort of think about, I suppose.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And Noah, I mean, we have to think about it for now, for sure. I think for the phase 2, when we implement UCAP, we're doing the RC, aligning the outage definitions and types with the RC process. So I think your scenario would fall under the urgent outage when that happens. And I think that one is, is clarifying it and it giving you the proper process. But until then, I think, we got to think about that scenario that I provided. So I appreciate it. And thanks, David. Operator, do we have another question?
At this time, we have no further questions in the queue.
Perfect. Okay. So reminder, if you have any follow-up questions, if you have suggestions for future topics, so when we do these CPGs, they're ad hoc, so we do them when we feel like there's a need coming up and we have a good topics to discuss. We send a market notice for asking for suggestions. So if you can provide suggestions now, or you can wait till we schedule the next one, you can call. You can do it by calling your client rep or submitting a city ticket. And appreciate everyone's time today. Good feedback, and have a great one.
Okay, Abdul.
Back to you, Jimmy. So,
yeah, thanks.
Firdaus, you want to say something before we end the call?
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. I just wanted to request everybody, all our participants, as for our map stage validation window, as we do not have any structured market sim scenarios, so we will not be following up on individually. So if you are specifically looking for any information or you want to validate particular things, please do submit a CD ticket so that we can track efficiently.
Thank you. Thank you, Firdaus.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. Thanks, Abdul and everybody. As Abdul mentioned, folks, this is for you. This is the forum meant to be interactive, so we do look forward to your questions, and once we do see something ripe enough for the next session, you can look forward to that being noticed. So thanks again, Abdul, for your clarifications, your time. Hopefully it was helpful for folks. Thanks, Noah and others for your questions, and David and Lauren as well. As mentioned, this was recorded, so we can please look for that in the next few business days. And please have a great rest of your day, folks.